navigators would help with some of that too. So it's conceptual. We have 2 people right now that have come over of that group. And actually, we're in process right now of writing a grant in partnership with Office of Public Instruction for Early Childhood, and the navigator concept is being written into that too, I think, in terms of comprehensive services through a preschool model, right? Right? Something like that? Yeah. Okay, so one of the things that's important to know is the Early Childhood Services Bureau is growing because of the emphasis nationally and statewide on early childhood. Our department was just a great recipient of a grant called SMOT, and it's funded from the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Administration, $800,000 a year for 5 years, all targeted towards early childhood mental health. Huge, 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 huge. So that is going to be administered through the Early Childhood Services Bureau. It's a grant that was written in partnership, though, with Public Health and Safety, Children's Mental Health, Child and Family Services, but we are sort of the hub that keeps those things moving and shaking. So there's going to be some further conversations organizationally probably with Early Childhood Services Bureau because there are positions that come with that grant. And anytime we do this, we need to set things up for success with the right responsibilities and support. Does that answer about navigators?
No, it's just the navigators now, we're going to go to the feedback.
But they will need to know everything that goes on in our division and other divisions and help connect services for people. We're trying it out. We think that it's a gap. We think that some people are really keyed in and connected to us, and we think that there are many people who are not and are caught, and we don't want to have them fall through the safety net, and we think this might help. Other questions, comments, concerns?
It's working just fine.
When a question is asked by someone, can you repeat the question? Those of us on the phone aren't hearing what the question is, so that would be really helpful.
Yep, fair point. Sorry about that. Go ahead, Jess.
For those that are kind of reorganizing a bit and have different people to time, are the different seats going to look different?
Good question. So the question is about where will people live? Where will their offices be? What might happen with space? And here's what I say. We're not moving people into Helena who are outstationed. People are going to stay in their offices. If that were to happen, it's because of other reasons or through attrition. But in the arcade building, do I anticipate that there will be some maneuvering and trying to get us into our functional units? Yes. Do I know any more than that right now? No. I have a meeting next week. I have to look at the floor plan and figure out bodies and offices and all of that. But in all fairness, I think just in terms of efficiency, we are going to look at that. What else?
I got a question. If you go up, our phone, how they're getting all the policy specialists are getting separated. And I guess from being at Service First, a couple of things that were said there, and then seeing this, how they're displayed where they no longer have their titles as policy specialists, and the comments that were made at Service First as far as following Idaho's, how they made an example of policy by wording the policy manual.
Right. Yeah, that's not going to happen here.
Well, there was also a couple of different comments made about you guys are going to take into consideration as far as federal rates and stuff, whether or not the chances of us getting audited on them are high enough or not to where whether we're going to follow. So with that, and then the policy names go on, I mean, are we heading down a direction where there will be no policy specialist?
No, that is not. Okay, so the question is a long one, so I'm going to attempt to paraphrase, and tell me if I didn't catch it, Debbie. So there were people who were at the Service First conference last week, and we spent a lot of time talking about the direction we're headed with Service First, and parallel to the state of Idaho. And one of the things that they did symbolically of some of their change in the way they do business was they actually burned policy manuals to show that there was this shift in sort of approach. One, we're not going to burn policy manuals. And then there were other comments and discussions, thank you, around federal regulations, and we're going to honor them, but we might push back when we can and ask for waivers. And then there were, what else? Are we losing job titles of policy specialists? Like, are we going to get to the place where we don't ever have a policy specialist? So is that fair? Did that capture it? Okay, so no, we're not going to get to that place. There's always room for policy. There's always room for business process. One of the continual struggles has been policy versus business process. Who does it? Where does it land? How do we blend it, etc. Plus then the system with business rules, which are a reflection of policy. So here's the deal. We have working titles and we have classification titles. So there is no classification title that says policy specialist. The classification titles land as human service specialists for us or compliance specialists in general. So human service specialists and compliance specialists have a lot of room within those, and I'm telling you what I know from the management side. HR may jump in here, but have a lot of room in terms of complexity and the bucket that encompasses them. So the job descriptions already reflect